2017 was a year of highs, lows, brake tests, shoeies, but through all of that, Lewis Hamilton emerged as the four-time world champion with Mercedes. Now, welcome back, guys, to the F1 Debate Show in 2018. We have both been very, very excited to come back on here since we closed in Abu Dhabi to obviously building up to the start in the Australian Grand Prix and all the way through the year. We are really, really excited. Obviously, my name is Lyle. Jordan is on the other screen. And as always, welcome back to the F1 Debate Show, where we're two lads who like talking about cars. We like seeing cars go around in circles while we basically break down the F1 season for you guys. We hope we've had a great summer there. We hope we've had a great Christmas, a great winter break, and obviously a fantastic New Year. We hope we've had loads of parties and had a really relaxing period between what's been a great Formula 1 season to close 2017 and what should be a great one in 2018. So, John, to start off the F1 Debate Show in 2018, our third season on YouTube, mind you. So, obviously, I hope you guys are ready. We are really, really excited for us. As I say, third season on here, really, really great. So have you had a great winter? And obviously, what's our big plans for the F1 Debate Show in 2018?
Well, obviously, we keep growing as the years go. Back in 2016 was quite a basic year. 2017 was sort of like advanced into that, getting an episode out pretty much every single week. Didn't we, Lyle? Obviously, was a very big achievement. To say the least, after a bit of a wait 2016 as well, but obviously we've got some big plans for 2018 ahead of the brand new season as well, which obviously means Halo Cockpit is coming, guys. I know it is tragic. It is something that it is a bit of a downer, but let's not get that down. Remember, guys, that Formula 1 is back very, very soon. Only a couple of weeks till testing, which also means car launches as well, and also Australia is only about 60 odd days away as well. So obviously very, very excited. But Lyle, we need a big storyline to kick off the new season with. So obviously, throw some ideas at us. What are we going to talk about? Are we talking about what you did over Christmas? What I did over Christmas? What they did over Christmas? Come on, we need something. Come on, ideas. Throw ideas.
As always, yeah. I mean, what I did over Christmas is obviously very, very exciting. Nobody wants to know what you did over Christmas because we know that is going to be boring, and that's not what you guys want to hear about. But obviously, the big news.
I certainly hope that you weren't calling, on your Instagram story, bloody telling young boys not to wear dresses, and then throwing a huge strop by deleting all your posts. I hope you weren't doing that.
And also, I hope that you haven't been going out in basically white, yellow, bad dress sense when you've got braided hair and just looking terrible and not dressing how a four-time world champion should be.
How the fashion sense has come about. Well, I wanted to try something different. But
we're not here just to bash Lewis Hamilton, guys. We are not. I mean, I'm wearing Mercedes as well. And as I open the episode, I mean, we're both kind of behind Mercedes. I mean, but it's going to be a really big year. Let's just also mention that this is the first season that we have two four-time world champions on the grid. Now, obviously, we've had Prost, Senna, we've had Hakkinen, Raikkonen, we've had loads of big Schumacher, I meant to say, with Hakkinen. We've had some big rivalries over the days. Obviously, we've had multiple world champions lining up next to each other. Obviously, I remember 2012, we had 5 world champions lined up. So we've had some great battles here and there and everywhere. But as I say, this is going to be the first year that we have two four-time world champions lined up: Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Now, when Vettel did it, it was plain sailing for him. He got 4 in a row, and it was almost like a little bit like, as I say, Jenson Button's year in 2009, Braun. It was like, he just did it, and then that was it. We did 2014, 2015, and then it was just a pipe dream. Red Bull Sebastian Vettel at Red Bull. It was a pipe dream that he got 4 in a row, very fast, kind of, wash your hands of it, and that's it. We hope he's back on the rise, but he never has been since those glorious 4 years. The triple double, as it was called. But then Lewis Hamilton, obviously 2008, and then obviously the great 4 years that he's had with Mercedes, obviously 2013. Growing into the team, but obviously 14, 15, battling Nico Rosberg in 2016, just almost couldn't get the championship, but then in 2017. So we've learned to grow with Lewis Hamilton as a world champion. Very different stories, obviously Ferrari, Mercedes, British, German, and as I say, how they've grown to their world championships. And we are going to be mentioning this all the time through the year because it is so exciting. We have 4, and we have 4. 2 drivers going fourth, and who is going to be picking up number 5? Or it could be somebody else. As I say, it's going to be a great battle between Vettel and Hamilton, but it could be Verstappen, it could be Raikkonen, it could be Ricciardo, it could be, who have I not said? It could be Verline, it could be Jordan. I've got no idea.
In the season, but you've just offended a lot of fans there.
But it could be trouble. It could be Pascal Wehrlein, yes. And obviously, as John said, we need a big story to start this year off with. And obviously, the main story is Fernando Alonso. Now, if you remember last year, Now, I know it's a long time to remember. We mentioned Fernando Alonso, we mentioned Jenson Button, we mentioned Stoffel Van Dorn, and we mentioned McLaren and Honda a long time. McLaren Honda will now be mentioned again, and this episode isn't going to include Jenson or Stoffel, but it's going to include Fernando Alonso, as I said. And he has been going in a different style of racing, probably also chasing that third crown or the triple crown. We'll get into that a little bit later. But he has been racing, and this year he has announced that in 2018, this year, and also next year in 2019, he is going to be racing in Le Mans and the WEC World Championships. Jordan?
Very well. I wasn't so much surprised about it when I first heard about it. Well, when I first heard Fernando Alonso, because remember, guys, he was testing with Toyota probably about a couple of months before, before the season ended, roughly, and obviously just before Christmas time as well. So obviously we know Alonso's desire to have the Triple Crown, and obviously we didn't know when this was going to occur. I'm sure I heard something about where Alonso said that he wasn't going to compete in the Le Mans series until the Formula 1 season, until his Formula 1 career had ended. But then obviously now it's just came about randomly, I would say, out of the blue, that Alonso is going to be competing not only in Le Mans but also in the WEC Endurance Championships as well with Toyota, replacing Sky Sports' Anthony Davidson, who I think is probably one of the best drivers ever in Formula 1. I'm sure me and Lal have expressed that in the past. My camera's about to go off. My light is flashing. Stop there.
Yeah, so back in 2017, Fernando Alonso raced in the Indy 500. That was also when the Monaco Grand Prix was taking place, round 6, in the Formula 1 season. So Jenson Button stood in for him when he was racing in Monaco, and obviously Fernando Alonso went off to the States. Now, the Indy 500 is obviously an IndyCar race, 500 laps around the Indianapolis Speedway. He was chasing something called the Triple Crown, but again, we'll get onto that a bit later on. Fernando was really excited. It was just another form of racing that he was going to try in his life. We were all really excited. Many Formula 1 fans watched the Monaco Grand Prix during the day, and then obviously live streamed the race from American networks on the night. We were really excited to see what would happen. Obviously, he was really excited, getting loads of support. And 3/4 through the race in that that Honda-powered IndyCar, it had an engine failure, which in 2017 was no surprise. But as I said, guys, at the start of this episode, we're not going to be talking about McLaren Honda, not in this episode, not this year, because it's not happening anymore. McLaren Honda, you've had a really bad 3 years, okay? Let's just dump the suitcase, let's just dust McLaren Honda off our shoulders, and let's just forget, let's just pretend it never ever happened, okay? Let's just pretend McLaren Honda never happened. So yeah, he retired about 3/4 of the way through with an engine failure from that Honda powered car. And that was really unfortunate, and obviously since then he's wanted to right that wrong. He has been in Indianapolis over the winter testing even more in that car, thinking he's having a blast.
So obviously, with Alonso going for that for the so-called Triple Crown, it's caused a lot of people to sort of jump in the bandwagon about Fernando Alonso's career, because obviously it's like, okay, should it be going for this crown at this stage of his career, or should he just wait until future references? Because obviously, I mean, for example, one pundit in particular, Martin Brundle, has expressed his serious disappointment for Fernando Alonso about this, basically saying that like he shouldn't be doing this, he should be focusing on McLaren itself. And I'm pretty sure that McLaren had said, obviously with the Honda project, obviously it was an absolute fail. So obviously with Alonso going off to like things like IndyCar and stuff, people could understand why Alonso wanted to go off elsewhere. But then I'm sure it was said that Alonso wasn't going to do IndyCar because he wanted to concentrate on the McLaren Renault project. He's now done Daytona, and he's now done Le Mans, and now he's going to be doing Le Mans and competing in another form of racing series. And obviously a lot of people is a bit like, obviously supportive of him. They're very, very supportive, but they're very, very confused and like almost like Alonso, like seriously, is this right for him as well? Like, how much strain can Alonso take? I don't know, because obviously at the end of the day, he's only human. He's a very brilliant racing driver. There's no doubt about that. But obviously he's now got to try and squeeze both Formula 1 and the WEC in a set of schedule. I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if you've seen Alonso's schedule. Basically, he's got about 4 races in, and then he's got an endurance event. Then it's about 5 races. Then he's got Le Mans, which is in between the Canadian and then the French Grand Prix. Then he's racing over the summer break, a week before the Belgian Grand Prix. It is the 6 hours of Silverstone, I think it is, and then he's only missing one event, which clashes with the US Grand Prix in October. He's missing an event in Japan, I think it is in Fuji. So it's obviously Alonso's got about 25, 26 race weekends, including obviously WEC and Formula 1. But obviously the main one that everyone cares about, really, obviously if you're a Fernando fan, you're going to be watching, the others like 6 Hours of Spa, 6 Hours of Silverstone, or whatever. But the main one is Le Mans. That's when everyone's going to be tuning in to watch, okay, what can Fernando Alonso really do? His desire to go for the Triple Crown. Only one driver has achieved it before, Graham Hill. He's obviously the father of Damon Hill. He's already done that before, the only person to do that so far. Alonso wants to do that. We know that he's going back in the IndyCar because he didn't win it before. So obviously going into the Le Mans to try and win it with Toyota, who obviously have won it before, very, very good team as well. Obviously Porsche pulling out this year, Toyota have a good chance. Let's see what they can do. Anthony Davidson dropping out as we said before. So I mean, is it good? Is it bad for Alonso? I mean, should he be doing this? I mean, yes, I think he should be, to be honest, because obviously Fernando Alonso, I mean, he might not get this opportunity at a later date. Obviously he might, I don't know, he might tire himself out, or he might not be bothered, he might not get the back in or whatever. But I think obviously Alonso is just, I think Alonso is living off live life to the full while he can. Life's too short. So I think Alonso was like, I might never get this opportunity again, let's go for it. And that's his mentality at the moment, which I think is very, very good, guys. But then if you look on the negative side, obviously me being a McLaren fan, I'm like, what happens if he has a major crash? Let's say in the first event at Spa, I think it is, but 4 races into the season, and then Alonso's out for the season, and he's, that's going to hinder McLaren a lot, and it could hinder his career overall. So, I mean, then again, like you always are going to be having those questions. Obviously, those questions thrown at you, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, Fernando Alonso, going for that Triple Crown, it's a good idea, obviously, because, as I say, he wants to be it's not going to be the first person in Formula 1, but it's going to be the first person in modern-day Formula 1, and obviously the second of all time behind Graham Hill. Obviously, great driver, British also. Now, what he's doing, it's good, yes, but I also agree with John that in terms of his Formula 1 commitment, it's a little bit like, hazy, because let's just, Bruce Lee, obviously, great martial arts actor and things like that. He said, don't fear the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks once. He said, fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times. Now, I know that sounds a bit deadly compared to Formula 1, but it just means that if you have one thing that you're focusing on, and you do the very best in that thing, then you are going to be unstoppable. And that's what you should fear in the man. Instead of, kind of having your fingers in loads of pies and being okay at, a good few of them. What he's doing was great. Obviously, last year what he did in Indy was great. Obviously, he stepped away from the Formula 1 scene. But the only thing is like, let's use last year as an example. McLaren Honda, they needed him right at a time. They need him at a very crucial time because he had loads of engine failures. Obviously, I can't remember them all, but he had a big one in Russia as well. I remember he walked away from them on the reconnaissance lap. That was obviously a very big one. And to leave him in Monaco, which obviously is a very technical circuit, he would have played a big benefit in, especially obviously alongside Stoff Van Dorn, a very new, inexperienced teammate. But they had Jensen Button to back him up. Okay, that's great, fantastic. But next year, he might not be there. And compared to what we've heard in the Formula 1 paddock about JB, he might not be there. We've got no idea, but in my personal opinion, I don't think he's going to stay around that long because he's getting on a bit. He wants to do other things in his life, things like that. But anyway, he might be there, he might not be. But McLaren, they had him to fall. He stepped up. That was great. But there might not be a JB next year, or this year, sorry, if, let's say, Fernando Alonso does go into other... Well, he is going into WEC. He does other things. There might not be a JB to step up. So, one, they're going to have to find a replacement driver, okay? He probably isn't going to be as good as Fernando Alonso. Again, as John said, what happens if he has a crash, okay? But... the big thing is though, it's just like, is Fernando focusing on other things and Formula 1? Because I think that's a little bit of a dangerous mentality that he's coming in with, the thing that he's like, it's Formula 1, yeah, it's okay, but I'm also interested in other things as well. Or is it just Formula 1 to the max? Because if you remember, guys, Fernando Alonso, his age, how long he's been in Formula 1, and possible retirement has come on the table quite a few times in quite a number of years. It probably even started, I think it was 2014, obviously, when he was still with Ferrari, and he was talking about that. I think in 2014, I do remember there was talks of Fernando Alonso retiring, and then kind of like question mark, because no one knows where he's going to go. And then obviously remember McLaren Honda came out the bag, 2015, had a bad year, retirement was back on the table again. 2016, retirement was kind of going off the table again, or for maybe Ferrari was, that was a rumour coming back in again. 2017, that was back on the table, and with Fernando Alonso, it's going to keep coming on the table until he makes a defined decision But I've got to say though, in terms of how long he's been in Formula 1, retirement, this decision is good, and if he's going for the Triple Crown, it is good. But I don't know, in my mind, I think Fernando should just be now focusing entirely on Formula 1. Doing a Hulkenberg and doing Le Mans, okay, that's okay, but just Le Mans. Nothing else, no other races, or none of the 6 hours. Don't do Daytona and don't do Indy 500, or maybe do Indy and that's it. I just think you're just focus on Formula 1 because, I mean, your mind's going to be all over. And again, as you said, John, his schedule is absolutely jam-packed. I mean, do you think that this is a good decision or a bad decision? In my mind, I think it's good to see as entertainment, but for Fernando's mentality, and as I say, his age and his experience and how much he's got in Formula 1 so far, it's not that good of a decision, especially now that, you know, McLaren Renault, that's very, very new. Nobody knows where that's going to go from. McLaren are on kind of like, well, they're on that maybe that mentality of it could be a phoenix rising from the ashes, or it could be like a little twiglet with one leg. You know, it could go good, or it could go bad. It's either going to go one of the two. It's going to happen really, really fast. So I don't know what McLaren are thinking, but in my mind, it's like it's okay it's a good decision from Alonso only. But I don't think he's being very, you know, he's not really thinking about McLaren that well. So what do you think, John? I mean, do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's bad? And who do you think has really made the ultimate decision? And who do you think it'll benefit more than the other?
Well, to be honest with you, I think this deal has been on the table for quite some time now. Now, come to think about it as well, it's like if you think about it. The McLaren Honda project was just a joke, to be honest with you. And obviously Alonso, if Honda had stayed in Formula 1 with McLaren for 2018, Alonso would not be here. He would have left Formula 1, and I know fine well he would have. So I think he was looking elsewhere, and obviously he's looking at WEC to win Le Mans, to go off to achieve the Triple Crown. So I think this was going to come about anyways, whether he was in Formula 1 or not. And I think it's just kind of maybe almost fallen by accident and being like, oh, okay, I'm now going to have two sets of, you know, race weekend. Obviously, I'm going to have Formula 1 and WEC to think about as well. I think it's, on a Fernando side, I think it is a good thing. I'm happy that Alonso has done this. Obviously, he knows that he can have a go at obviously competing and obviously doing one weekend of WEC, 1 weekend of Formula 1, or 2 weekends of Formula 1, obviously back to back as well. Let's not forget, guys, you've got three races in 3 consecutive weeks. I think it's France, Austria, and Great Britain. Now, as I was saying before in the episode, the week before the French Grand Prix is the 24-hour Le Mans. So obviously Alonso's going to have Canada, Le Mans, France, Austria, and Britain, Silverstone, and that's going to harm him. That's going to hurt him, quite, you know, physically and mentally as well. But I think, but obviously on a Fernando theme, I think it is a good thing. Obviously, well, on a McLaren fans perspective, it is risky. But then again, it's like, let's just see how Fernando gets along. I'm sure we will all support him as well. But obviously, Fernando Alonso, just another topic I want to bring into this is that Fernando Alonso knows that he's not going to emulate the stats of the great drivers such as Senna, Schumacher, Fangio, and obviously now Lewis Hamilton in terms of wins and world titles. Now, you've heard the phrase of obviously a very unlucky driver, or the best driver not to win a championship, or the best driver not to win a race. Obviously, Sterling Moss won many races, never won a championship, regarded as one of the best driver not to win a world championship. Now, I wonder if you can have the phrase an unlucky world champion, because if there's any world champion I will pick that has to be the unluckiest, it has to be Fernando Alonso. Yes, he's won 2 world championships as well. Obviously, he's a very, very talented driver, but since he went to McLaren the first time round, his career hasn't went where it should have been, to be honest with you, because he had them glory days of stopping Michael Schumacher and Ferrari's route in the championship as well in 2005 and 2006, you know, and then from then on in, it should have been plain sailing of many wins, championships. But he could have won the lot in Formula 1. He could have been 6, 7, possibly even an 8-time world champion by this stage right now as we're sitting here. But no, he's not. He's a 2-time world champion with only 32 wins, which is a lot, but not as much as 91 or 72 or 51. So, you know, that obviously you can kind of see where I'm coming from now. And obviously his Ferrari days were good, but he had 2 really bad seasons, or let's say 3 really bad seasons. Went to McLaren again to sort of rejuvenate his career. He could have stayed at Ferrari, and then look where he would have won more races than Vettel in that Ferrari in 2015. I know fine well he would have. 2016 he would have won a race. In 2017 he could have won the championship in a Ferrari. But he didn't choose that path. Obviously, no wins since 2013. His last win was almost 4 or 5 years ago at Spain. Very unlucky. Well, obviously, he's a very, very unlucky driver. So I think he's getting to the point of where, like, it's like, why should I even bother going for like these events? Why should I even bother going for these stats? Let's just, obviously, he's not going to emulate Schumacher in World Championships. So let's go for the Triple Crown and let's do these other events that will still emulate myself as becoming one of the best drivers in the world, not only in Formula 1 but endurance racing in itself. So Lyle, like, do you think Alonso is the unluckiest world champion going there is in Formula 1?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of, and I know what you mean. I mean, I've got to say that wasn't really.
It's weird to say, but like, yeah, you can see where I'm coming from. If you do think about it,
I do see where you're coming from. Yeah. It hasn't really worked in his favour compared to like someone like Lewis Hamilton, where everything did, or Sebastian Vettel when he was a Red Bull. It kind of hasn't in his kind of where he's gone. Because Ferrari, I mean, 2015 obviously for Ferrari was good, and if Fernando did stay, I mean, that would have been really, really good for him. He was integrated in the team. He was kind of like another Italian. When I think of Fernando Alonso, that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind. I know he's raced with loads of different teams. He's not linked with Italy very much. The only reason he is obviously is those 4 years that he spent obviously with the Tifosi. But I still think of Fernando Alonso as Italian, that kind of guy, the really, the really fun guy in red. He was always talking with like Stefano Domenicali and that Andrea Stella in Italian. He always kind of reminds me of that. That's the first thing that you think of when I think of Fernando Alonso, and he really, really has. And the thing that really got me, as I say, and I've just mentioned it, was the Indy 500 last year. It's just the fact that Jenson Button, I mean, and I know that kind of comes back to McLaren Honda, but you have to put two and two together. Unfortunately, at some point, Jenson Button obviously crashed out. Stoffel Van Dorn had an engine failure, and then Fernando Alonso had an engine failure right after, as I say, Russia there was an engine failure. Probably Spain and Canada and Azerbaijan and all the other races were probably engine failures or problems, and horrible. He really. Yeah, exactly, John. I mean, it's not something that you think of, but when you think of, when it comes to the back of your mind, you do think, unfortunately, Fernando Alonso has hit, bad street quite a lot of the time. But I mean, do you think this is a way to rectify itself? Because it's almost like, he gets another chance, gets another opportunity to do racing, and you never know, he might go off and, let's say, he does the Indy 500 again, and he smashes it and he wins. But alongside the Indy 500, he's also maybe doing okay in Formula 1, or he might be doing bad in Formula 1. I mean, hopefully not, let's say, touch wood. Maybe he's doing bad in Formula 1, but then he goes off to the WEC and he smashes it. He puts in records after record after record after record after record, and he wins the 24-hour one, and basically he kind of gets his name back up again. Is this just a saving grace, let's say? Is this a saving grace for Fernando Alonso? The chances that he's getting, because it actually might be, to think, I'm going to step out of my Formula 1 car, whether it's stellar, whether it's bad, whether it's good, whether it's really, really terrible, whether it's McLaren Honda Mark II, just in a Renault name. Is it a saving grace for Fernando Alonso to say that I'm going to go off and I'm going to do all these other races this year?
I think so, because as I was saying before, it has been very, very lucky for Fernando Alonso, because you could ask yourself, why Fernando Alonso? Why not Sebastian Vettel? Why not Lewis Hamilton? You know what I mean? Why hasn't Alain Prost done it? Why hasn't Schumacher done it? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Fernando Alonso, like, obviously, judging by his stats as well, 2-time world champion as well, 32 wins. Obviously many podiums as well. Loads and loads of fans all across the world. Obviously one of the most respected drivers in Formula 1 as well, and obviously definitely one of the best, because he flogged his guts out for them 3 years at McLaren Honda. I mean, if I had it my way, I would have wanted him driver of the season 3 years running, because of just how well he did in the car, and obviously his teammate couldn't really keep up. Obviously, no disrespect to Jensen, but Alonso did a much better job. But yes, it is definitely almost Alonso saying, "Look, guys, I'm still here. I'm still a good driver. It's just I've had a really bad car." Because if Alonso had have won 5, 6, 7 world championships, he wouldn't be doing this, and not during his Formula 1 career, but he would be able to go forth after Formula 1, probably retire early, maybe get let's say in 2013 he had a good car in 2013. Well, he had an alright car in 2013, probably the best car he's had in his Ferrari, or one of the best cars he's had it in his Ferrari career. Let's say he won the championship in 2013. Maybe after about 2014 he could have hung up his helmet, and then went off to do endurance racing after Mark Webber, because obviously Mark Webber left Formula 1 to do endurance racing. Close friends with Alonso, he could have went, "How on, Alonso? You've done everything that you needed to do. Just come over here and just enjoy it with us, because he tried to lure Jensen over. That didn't work.
Oh, he did.
Well, he needed it. Obviously, Jensen's went off to do is it Super GT in Japan? I think
he's doing he has got his fingers in more pies, Jensen. Which again, that's probably where he got his idea from, Fernando Alonso. But it needs to be something that he gets his idea on. Yeah, so I'm really liking it. Fernando Alonso, obviously, this idea that he's had, he's committed to it, fully committed to the WEC. Thinking about the Indy 500, it is exciting. It is more entertainment. It is great. It's very much linked to Formula One. And just one more thing about this topic, right? And we said this last year as well. Is IndyCar, that's obviously an American sport. It's very much an American national sport. Unlike things like American football and basketball, that are coming overseas and things like that. IndyCar is very much staying in those countries. Obviously, the South America, the southern states. Obviously, all the drivers are from there, all the teams are from there. We know how much they love IndyCar. Just watch UK Top Gear when they go to the United States. Any UK fans, that's how much they love IndyCar. Just make sure you don't do that on your holidays. Anyway, what I was going to say, it just means that for the Formula One fans, it is taken off in America. It is, which is fantastic. It is taken off in America, which, to be honest, about 20 odd years ago, if you said to an American what's Formula One, they probably would have scratched their head and said, what is that? Anyway, so it's working in that way, but it's also working in another way as well. So when Fernando Alonso does things like IndyCar, we then watch IndyCar, which, to be honest, I agree, I've never watched that before in my life, and it's the same probably with Jordan. So we watched that on that day after, the Monaco Grand Prix, and we were like, oh my god, this sport is okay, but we're watching Fernando Alonso in it. How great is that? Again, it's going to be the same with WEC and Le Mans. I think it's around Baku time, probably, well, it was in 2015 when Hülkenberg did it. We'll watch that, we'll think, oh, this is amazing. Again, maybe WEC fans, maybe Formula 1 fans aren't really WEC watchers out there. Again, I know I'm not, I've only watched a few, and things that he's going to be doing, like the Daytona 24 Hours possibly, and things like that. So it's just spreading, popularity and things like that, which I've got to say Fernando Alonso did a great job in last year, bringing many Formula 1 fans to IndyCar, as well as obviously vice versa, especially when the US Grand Prix comes about. Anyway, so Fernando Alonso, guys, what do you think? Please leave us a comment. What do you think Fernando will do? Do you think he'll have a great season? Do you think he's got more fingers in pie? Do you think it's a saving grace for him? Please let us know what you think. And that has been our big topic for our first episode back. But the last thing I want to talk about, John, the second of last thing, is the grid has been confirmed this year. Obviously, the last driver was Sergei Sorokin, obviously raced in Formula 2, champion, really, really experienced. But you've got to remember, guys, that Robert Kubica was in the seat. Now, before I give my opinion, because it's a little bit shaded, and I really don't know what to make of it, I'm going to hand over to John. And John, what do you think? It was between Robert and it was between Sergey, and it kind of also was between Paul di Resta, if you want to say, because he was Williams' reserve driver. Yeah. So why do you think the decision was to take Sergei Sorokin over Robert Kubica?
Right. So obviously both drivers did do a test at Abu Dhabi as well. Obviously both sets times. Sorokin's times were faster. But obviously, if you do think about it, Rob Kubica is probably definitely the more experienced driver. Robert Kubica does have a problem with his right hand. Obviously, that massive rally crash he had back in 2011, that put his Formula 1 career on hold. Well, at the time, it was career ended, but now it's on hold. So obviously, that's something that Williams had to think about. And then, so it was like, when he was doing it, he still did really, really well. But then, essentially, he's driving the car one-handed. So it's going to be quite complicated for Robert Kubica to be able to control all these new components that he's not used to in the car. And obviously now these cars are faster and heavier as well to be able to control. So obviously Robert probably, will he last the season? Obviously only he knows that. But then probably the side that everyone talks about with Sorokin is money. Now I've done a little bit of homework into this, and the back end, that one of his main backers that he's got is a Russian bank firm that fund Russian drivers. Obviously him. Vitaly Petrov is another main one. That's how he got into Formula 1 as well, and a couple of others that I don't really recognise as well. I can't really pronounce the names. I don't think Danny Kvyat was one of them. I'm not too sure. I didn't see his name sprung about, but I know definitely Vitaly Petrov was one of them drivers. And obviously they invested a lot into Sorokin to get this Williams seat, which I think is wrong in my personal opinion, because now Williams have two paid drivers. Obviously one's dad's a billionaire, and the other one has got I think it was 25 million pounds that Sorokin has paid for this seat. Sorokin, good driver, but Kubica is probably the better driver. But then you could also argue it's a headache of Rob Kubica is almost disabled in the sense of, yeah, he's got a problem with his right arm, but he can still drive the car, but can he last the season? So then obviously, obviously, but the way the media is playing it is playing about, it's okay. This and this is basically what I've just explained. But realistically, I think it was always going to be Sorokin. Anyways, even if Rob Kubica was fit and well, I think it would have been Sorokin anyways, to be honest with you. Now, there was a rumour going about saying that I think Robert Kubica was going to pay £7 million for the first 7 races, then hand over to Sorokin, which I hope wasn't the case, and obviously it wasn't. But I do not like people who pay for the seats, because there are other drivers out there who probably could do a better job. Now, prime example, Lance Stroll, he had a bad start to the season. He improved during the season, but he's not a great driver. Sorokin, I think he's won the Formula 2 or GP3 championship in 2015, 2016. So obviously he can win, but can he win in Formula 1? I don't think so. And that's the thing that disappoints me. Do I think they should have went for Sorokin? No, I really I hope they would have went with. I hope that eventually that they will go with Robert Kubica, but they should have went with Robert Kubica, in my personal opinion. I think he would have been a better driver throughout the course of the season. I think he would have improved. He would have got better. He would have learned the car. But maybe Williams didn't actually consider that Robert Kubica couldn't be able to do a full season. We don't know that. But, I mean, I really don't know, guys. I don't like, as I said before, I don't like seeing drivers being paid for their seats. So, Lyle, what's your opinion on that? What do you think? I want to know.
Right, okay, I know you want to know. Everyone wants to know.
Yes, everyone does.
so basically, Robert Kubica came out about July time and said that he was going to go. He was interested in Renault first.
Oh, and, yes, it was, yeah, Renault.
Basically, we were very excited about it. I think I said a few episodes that it was going to be like a Schumacher kind of return. I mean, obviously Schumacher 7 times, of course.
Yeah.
Robert is nothing like that, unfortunately. But coming back as an ex-Formula 1 driver who's been in like the V10 days is absolutely fantastic. And obviously, again, overcome adversity like he did, with his crash, again, is just another factor which is fantastic. But it is a shame, as you are right, John, that it is unfortunately money. You've got to have a back in Formula 1. We all knew that. You've got to have money. That all comes down to that. But there has been drivers like who have come through the system, like Lewis Hamilton with McLaren, who have been special and things like that. And maybe they should have looked and thought, well, Robert Kubica is strong. Sergio Sorokin is strong. It's like putting them 2 and 2 together. He's young. Sergio's young. He's got the experience, obviously, of low formulas. He has got the more money, but Robert is experienced. If anything, he's over-experienced. I mean, money unfortunately does win in Formula 1. That's the thing. We're all talking money all the time. The big thing I can say is that when we were all excited about the prospect of Kubica, it wasn't the case, because both Renault and Renault went another way, but they were both thinking probably in unison that even though we were all thinking Kubica because it's more entertainment for us, that they were never going to take Kubica and they were going to take Sorokin. He is a great driver, but I've got to say though, I mean, not just what we're saying, but in the media are mentioning money a lot. And I've got to say, I think now that when he enters Formula 1, he's going to have a bit of a Lance Stroll back in again, like Jordan said. Lance Stroll came in, and for the first few races it was like, Lance, you've paid to be in Formula 1 and you're not performing very well. Yeah. Remember Canada, heading into the Canadian Grand Prix, which was obviously his home race, I think it was round 7 Canada, and he hadn't scored a single point in Formula 1. It was nervy, people were getting at him for money and things like that. Obviously he had a good response, but it was mainly, he had the money but he didn't have the results. He came in with a 9th place and then a 3rd place in Baku, and if he didn't do that 9th place and probably that 3rd place, I think it would have been very, very hot water for Lance. You need the money, yes, but it's also the result that follow. No one will know how Robert does unless he makes another bid to try and get into a 2019 season. We'll never know. But we can also say, though, that Sergio Sorokin, obviously really experienced Formula 2 driver, obviously, and yeah, we wish him all the best of the luck. Now, the final thing I want to mention, John, is, now, I don't know if this is kind of Formula 1 related. I was very excited when I saw this, mind. Now, in the news, this is the airline debate show at the moment. Now, in the news, unfortunately, Air Berlin have liquidated. As we all know, about 30 odd years ago, an ex-Formula 1 driver, or an interim Formula 1 driver at that time, called Niki Lauda, was very interested in flying. He also set up an Austrian national service called Lauda Air. hell of a name, hell of a brand, but obviously they fell when he returned back into Formula 1. And now that Air Berlin have gone under, Niki Lauda might be buying them back, calling them Lauda Air and using them. It's not a German airline, but an Austrian national airline. He probably will still be with Mercedes, but I've got to say, guys, this is just a rumour at this moment, but I am very, very excited with that prospect that he might be going back into the airline industry, and obviously it makes me very excited as well. That was the last thing I'm going to say about it. Just a rumour it now, but I've got to say we'll be definitely keeping you up to date with what happens. Anyway, guys, so yes, that is the end of the episode. Our first episode back. Thank you very much for watching. If this is the first time that you've seen us on the screen, obviously first, welcome to the F1 Debate Show. We hope you've enjoyed the first episode. This is our first episode back, first one to kick off 2018 and the rundown to Melbourne, and counting down the 2018 World Champion. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Please comment with everything we've mentioned in this video, what you think. Is it good, is it bad, everything else in between. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Give us a like if you have. If you haven't, please tell us why you haven't enjoyed the video. What can we improve, because we're always trying to improve for you guys. And we've been the F1 Debate Show, guys, and until next time, see you later.
See you later, guys. Thank you very much.